Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Olson. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I'd like to welcome you all to the fourth dimension. Big book study, that is. I'm glad you guys are here. I know I'm certainly glad I'm here. I never feel more alive than when I'm sharing the miracle of God's recovery in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that I discovered in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. Let's share that book together tonight, shall we? All right, as we always do, we're going to kick off with the set aside prayer. It goes a little something like this. Sing along if you know the words. God, please help me to set aside everything I think I know about you, about me, about my fellow man, and about the 12 steps. And please allow me to gain a fresh new vision, perspective, and understanding of what you, what me, what my fellow man, and the 12 steps are all about. Amen. And as this is the fourth dimension big book study, we always like to read the two parts of our book that refer to the fourth dimension. So first of all, on page 8, Bill Wilson writes that I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And then on page 25, Bill Wilson writes that we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into the fourth dimension of existence, of which we had not even dreamed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be catapulted. We're going to be rocketed. And for the sake of the tradition and the custom of the fourth dimension big book study, everyone will please put one hand up like this. And everybody, please put another hand up like this. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. Come on, Caleb, Atlanta, Georgia. Come on. All right. And everybody go, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. We absolutely insist on enjoying life here in the fourth dimension. Okay. I'm going to have fun tonight. I hope you'll have fun tonight. It's entirely optional, but it's highly, strongly encouraged to have some fun. Let's have some fun with the big book, man. Let's bring this thing alive. So, man, I wasn't here last week. Thanks to Brad for covering. Really appreciate it. Brad tells me that you guys covered off step 4 and step 5. Brad, if the intel that I have received is correct, you guys did not go over what we would call Clancy's 7 questions. Is that correct?
That's correct. We didn't do that.
I thought that I had those lined up here. I could have sworn that I did. Okay, well, I'm going to pull those. I'm going to find.
Kevin, I have them if you want them.
Beautiful. If you could share those for us, that'd be great, Rob. If you have the template for them that I shared before, that'd be great. So thank you to Brad for taking us and finishing off step 4 and taking us through step 5. Brad, I presume that you went through the questions that I typically ask, tell me the worst thing you've ever done and so on and so forth, and went through all of that. Yeah, and that is just a really, call it a tried and true method that I was given, and I'm sure you shared this last week, Brad, that I got that from Scott Lee in Tennessee and Myers Raymer from the Dallas Primary Purpose Group. And it's a very, very good and just powerful way to go through a step 5. It's also a very time-effective way to go through a step 5. When I receive a step 5 these days, I used to do these really heroic martyrdom type step 5s where I would sit with a guy for 17 hours and we would go through all of this stuff, and I don't do that anymore, and I've been told not to do that. I've been told that some of that just becomes very self-indulgent. One of the things, speaking of Clancy, one of the things that I've heard Clancy say is that at a certain point in AA, inventory can just become what he calls a publicly acceptable form of self-obsession. And I've known people like that, where I've discovered there's kind of two types of people. There's people that you can't make do a step five, and then there's other people that you can't stop from doing step five after step five after step five after step five, and they become like obsessed. And what are they obsessed with? Themselves. Okay, they become obsessed, and so inventory just becomes a publicly acceptable form of self-obsession. So I don't do those 17-hour inventories anymore, man. I do 3 hours at a time. I'll book 3 hours with a sponsee, bada bing, bada boom. That is it. If we need to, and we think that there's a valid reason to go on and do more work together, at another time, we'll do another 3 hours. But for the most part, doing this method that Brad talked about last week, we can typically get them done shortly. Now, thank you, Rob. Rob had just posted what are known as Clancy's 7 questions. For anyone who doesn't know who Clancy is, Clancy is probably one of the most well-known and most renowned and revered and maybe loved members of Alcoholics Anonymous, maybe ever. And now that's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Other people may feel differently about it. But Clancy is a man. He was sober since 1958. He founded my sponsor's home group in Los Angeles called the Pacific Group, the world's largest Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. They have 1,000 people. Call it 700 to 1,000 people every Wednesday night. It's one of the most active, enthusiastic, vibrant AA meetings on the planet. Clancy is also known to be one of the most renowned AA speakers, the most prolific AA speakers of all time. Clancy traveled like around the world from one end of the planet to the other. And he did that, by the way, like in the 1970s and 80s and like early 90s, before you could book flights on your phone and before, you could talk to people on cell phones and stuff, where travel was really difficult. And he traveled all over the world telling his story and talking about the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And anyway, he's a very special man in my heart. He was my grand sponsor. He was my sponsor's sponsor, and we come from a very proud lineage. And the lineage, and I like to tell my sponsees this as well. So, Brad is one of my sponsees. Shiva is one of my sponsees. I've got, a few sponsees on the call tonight. The lineage goes from me to Alan to Clancy, who was sponsored by a guy named Chuck Chamberlain, who was sponsored by Bill Wilson. So that's the lineage from our sponsorship directly to Bill W. Anyway, I only mention that to kind of set the stage for like, why are we looking at this guy's these 7 questions? Who is this guy and what are these questions and why do we care? This isn't in the big book. I just want to share them with you because for a couple reasons, and I'll share with you guys how I use these 7 questions. Rob, if you'd be kind enough to put those up again. So these are questions that Clancy developed on his own, separate from the step 4 in the book. And I've discovered from talking to my sponsor and various other people, he developed these 7 questions really to kind of encapsulate the spirit of the step 4 in the book. But he really developed it for 2 types of people. Number one, people who maybe on the side of illiteracy and inability to be able to read and go through, and maybe even didn't know how to read and write. Okay, Clancy was also the director of the Midnight Mission in Los Angeles, and so he would get sponsees that did not read and write, and people who maybe a little more special needs. So he developed these questions for them, as well as people who were so hyper educated, the PhDs and the rocket scientists and the psychiatrists that came to AA that were so damn intellectual, they could fumble around in a step 4 for years and never get anywhere. and that's funny to me, the polarity of people that he developed these questions for. And so how do I use these 7 questions? And let's read through them. So number 1, in looking back over your life, what memories are still painful, guilty, or dirty? 2, in what ways do you consider yourself inadequate as a person? 3, who do you resent and why? Be specific. And I've seen these questions written out as he typed them on the Midnight Mission letterhead, and it actually says just be as nasty as you want in terms of why you resent these people. 4, what do you conceive to be your defects of character as you see them today? And we're going to talk about that right now, tonight, step 6 and 7. We're going to talk about that. 5, what is the nature of the ongoing problems you have with people close to you in human relationships? What seems to always happen when these things blow up? 6, in what way do you believe that AA can help you with any of these problems? And 7, in what way do you believe AA can begin to change things? Okay, so these are the 7 questions. And the way that I use these are just as I indicated. So I have a sponsee of mine right now. Andrew is his name, and he's working with a fella that is we would say special needs. He's special needs, but he is also an alcoholic, and he is also a drug addict, and so on. Rather than going through the 4-step processes we discussed, we're just going to use these steps for that individual. That's just one example of someone that we'll work through this with. To keep it simple, okay? To keep it simple for him. On the other hand, I also, if I have sponsees that come to me and we've done a couple of step 4s and a couple of step 5s, the traditional way in the big book, and that is always my first default. My first default is always to do it just as we've lined out in the big book. To get a different perspective and a different flavor, I will sometimes use Clancy's these 7 questions as we talk about them. And that is another thing that we will do, that I will do in terms of step 4 and step 5. And so I've received many step 5s over the years, and most of them have been the traditional way as laid out in the big book. And I've done Clancy's 7 questions a few times as well. And they're very powerful and can sometimes give a different perspective for sponsees on the ongoing problems of their lives, as Clancy kind of lays out here. These days, and Rob, you can feel free to take it down. These days, guys, I still do, are in the 12 and 12 in step 10, and we'll talk about this more when we get there. 12 and 12 in step 10 suggests that many of us go in for annual or semi-annual house cleanings. And what that means to me is I still tend to do a step 5 with my sponsor about once a year at minimum. Okay. We'll talk more about that when we get to step 10, but I just did one with my sponsor just a couple of weeks ago, and the main kind of takeaway from that step 5 is that I need to stop feeling sorry for myself. Okay. These things that I think are terrible, terrible problems in my life, reflecting on a new perspective, were actually they're blessings. I've got the best problems I've ever had in my life. Okay. But they're only problems when I'm sitting and obsessing about them myself. Okay. And what I need to do is to stop feeling sorry for myself and begin to feel a little bit of gratitude. And of course, continue. And my sponsor knows I do a lot of service in AA and sponsor lots of guys. And I'm grateful to do all that. But it was helpful. So I'll tell you guys that the last step 5 I did with my sponsor was 15 minutes long. Okay. I told him kind of what I had going on, and he basically just told me to shut up and stop feeling sorry for myself. And not in so many words. He wasn't that nice about it. No, I'm kidding. He was it was fine. It was very, but I needed to hear it. And I respect my sponsor's opinion. And I hope that you have a sponsor whose opinion you respect. And I hope that you have a sponsor whose direction you will take without question. I surrender my own sick, selfish self-will to the direction of my sponsor, because he has 2 unique qualifications. 1, he has more experience than I do. He's 33 years sober. He has more experience than I do. Number 2, he is not me. He is not me. He is someone outside my own perception that can see and can give me judgment and clarity without any emotion or fear attached to the plan or the idea or the thought. And he can give me that outside perspective, and so helpful. So, okay, so let's get into steps 6 and 7, and we're going to read through them as they're laid out in the big book. I'm going to talk about them a little bit tonight. I'm going to talk about really my own experience with 6 and 7, and we're going to try to keep it very simple. I try to keep 6 and 7 very, very, very simple. One of the things, guys, that I believe when I first started coming to AA, I'm 16 years sober now, but I started coming to AA about 25 years ago. And people would often refer to steps 6 and 7 as the forgotten steps. Anyone here ever heard anybody refer to 6 and 7 as the forgotten steps? Okay. I don't hear that as much anymore. And in fact, like most things in AA, the pendulum has completely swung the other direction, I believe, in AA. More so than 6 and 7 being the forgotten steps. In my area where I live, 6 and 7 are the steps that people are absolutely obsessed with. They spend days and weeks and months working on 6 and 7. And they love to talk and pontificate from the podium about 6 and 7. And 6 and 7 are steps that need to be worked. I think I have learned and been given a pretty effective way of going through them. But I don't spend a lot of time on 6 and 7 because, brothers and sisters, my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous is that I don't make a lot of progress in steps 6 and 7 by focusing on steps 6 and 7. I make progress in steps 6 and 7 by working steps 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, that's how I have made progress in steps 6 and 7. You guys with me on that? Okay, it's not helpful for me to sit around obsessing about my defects of character and my shortcomings. Okay, I mean, that's one of the first things, like, well, what is a defect of character versus a shortcoming? My God, couldn't we have an entire hour-long meeting just about that topic? Spoiler alert, they're the exact same thing. Bill Wilson has gone on record as saying there's no difference whatsoever. Defect, shortcoming, he just wanted to use a different word. Okay, that's it. There's no difference between those two. But that is the type of thing I can get lost for hours sitting around a coffee shop with someone talking about the difference between the two. No difference, okay? My understanding of 6 and 7 are very simple. 6, I'm becoming aware of what the defects are. 7, I am humbly asking God to remove them. And then I get busy in steps 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay? Part of the reason I think people love to get obsessed with steps 6 and 7 is that they don't want to move on to steps 8 and 9 and 10, 11, and 12 because those suckers are hard. It's way easier for me to sit around in 3-topic disgusting meetings talking about what I think about steps 6 and 7 than it is to get into the business, particularly of steps 8 and 9. Just on the other side of 6 and 7 are the steps that most people, myself included, were most scared of. And I don't want to look, man. So it's easy for me to say, like, hey, that's, I'm really going to spend some lot of time. I'm going to get a copy of, the book Drop the Rock, and I'm going to listen to a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to talk about 6 and 7. I'm going to think about 6 and 7. Meanwhile, I'm just delaying the real work that I need to do in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So anyway, with that said, guys, let's get into the book. And obviously, as you may already be aware, what we actually have written for steps 6 and 7 in our book is very limited. very limited amount of reading, okay, on page 76. And that's okay. We're going to get into it. Obviously, strongly encourage you all. Yes, read step 6 in the 12 and 12. Of course. Read step 7 in the 12 and 12. Of course. Great literature from our fellowship. Great readings in there, okay? But when I'm working with a new person, I want to go through 6 and 7 very quickly, just as it was indicated to me. And I'm going to tell you one of the conversations I had in my early recovery that probably saved my life. A conversation I had in early recovery that probably saved my life. And I'm grateful to this day that I had that conversation, and I'm going to share it with you. So with that said, Brad, locked and loaded, ready to go. You ready to do some reading for us? Let's top of page 76, guys. Let's get rolling.
Hey everybody, I'm Brad. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Brad.
If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. When ready, we say something like this.
Okay, so sorry, Brad, we're gonna stop there. Step 7, I mean, you'll see there, step 7, we're gonna get into it in a minute. Step 7 is really nothing more than it's just a prayer. That's really all that step 7 is. Okay. We've learned in our book that anytime it says we ask, that's a prayer. Well, step 7 says we humbly ask God. Okay. It's a prayer. Step 7 is nothing more than a prayer. Step 6, for me, my understanding, my awareness of step 6 and the importance of step 6 is simply my job is just to become aware of what my defects of character are. Okay. So one of the things I want to share with you guys, I'm going to share it right now. I had a sponsee who he did a step 5, and he didn't want to do it with me. I had just started working with him. He didn't really know me yet. He wanted to go do it with a priest, and it was a guy that I knew who'd been in AA as well. And so I said that would be fine. And so he went and did it with this fellow that I know, who's an ordained minister, and he's also a therapist. And my sponsee came out of that step 5 with a list of his defects of character, so he could start working on steps 6 and 7. And I use this now as an instructional tool in this study in particular. And I want to show you the list that my sponsee was given by this fella. So here, this is the list that he was given. That's the list. Oh, shoot. Hang on a second. I'm going to open it up again. Sorry about that, guys. There you go. All right. Can you guys see that list?
Yep.
You guys see that list? Can you guys see the 107 things that my sponsee was told to work on? Okay. I don't know about y'all, but I shared this list with someone that I know in recovery, and I said, what would you do with a list like this? And they said, drink. Okay. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with a list like this? Where are you going to start in a list like this? Okay. And this is exactly, if you would have asked me, Kevin, what's wrong with you? I would have listed off, 72 things that were wrong with me. Okay. And my list would have looked like this. And this is like, where do you start? How are you going to do something like this? Where would you even begin? Thank God that Father Brian, who I did my first step 5 with, gave me one of the keys to the kingdom. My first step 5 I did with a man named Father Brian that at a place called Mount St. Francis here in Calgary, and a guy that I kept in touch with for years afterwards because he had a transformational impact on my life. And we finished my step 5. And he said, Kevin, do you know what your defects of character are? And I started to list off a list that probably looked a lot like the one I just showed you. I started to list off the 72 things. Well, I'm a procrastinator and I'm a people pleaser. And I thought, oh, he's a Catholic priest. I'll start to list off the 7 deadly sins. So I'll impress him with that. I'm lustful and I'm prideful and, avarice and wrath and, all that stuff. And he just said, Kevin, just stop. Just stop. He said, Kevin, you are selfish and you are self-centered. And he said, and you're full of self-pity. And if you will keep it that simple, and if you will invite God into your life on a daily basis to work with you through those defects, you will do very well. And thank God that Father Brian kept it that simple for me. Our book says selfishness, self-centeredness. That is the what? The root. That's the root. Well, what grows out of the root? Everything else. Everything else, okay? Clancy, my grant sponsor, who I've mentioned already, he used to say he lived in Southern California. Los Angeles, he had lemon trees in his backyard. I live in Calgary, Alberta. We don't have a lot of lemon trees here, okay? But the example will still be the same. If one of the lemons, okay, the lemons on the tree are not doing well, he doesn't get on a ladder and go up and try to water each individual lemon. What do? You take care of the roots. Selfishness, self-centeredness. That is the root of all of my defects of character. Okay? Now, one of the things that I have come to believe, and one of the ways that I look at it, is that every defect of character that I have or that I will ever have all stem from that root, from selfishness and self-centeredness. And in this study, this big book study, when we used to do this in person, we used to play a game where we would have people, you could name any defect of character, any single one of them, any defect of character you can throw at me, and I can show you how it can be related back to selfishness and self-centeredness. Okay. And by the way, let's talk about selfishness and self-centeredness for a moment. Okay. And I'm going to share a screen with you here again. Okay. So for steps 6 and 7, as I said, selfishness and self-centeredness, that is the root of our troubles, okay? And what is the difference between selfishness and self-centeredness? Selfishness are my actions. Selfishness, I behave in selfish ways, and I treat other people selfishly, okay? And that can include not treating them at all. Not showing up. A lot of the amends that I had to make in step 9 were not amends of a crime that I committed against them. They were amends of omission, where selfishly I didn't show up for people. I was late for people all the time. I didn't care about people whatsoever. I behaved in selfish ways. But underneath that, and even more importantly, is self-centeredness. And self-centeredness is rooted in my thinking. And what am I thinking as a self-centered human being? What am I thinking about? I am thinking about myself. This great obsession that I have with myself. and my life and what's going to happen to me, and on and on and on. Okay. Self-centeredness is my thinking. And as Joe and Charlie talk about in their big book studies, all action is born in thought. Okay. So it's impossible for me to even, pick up this cup of coffee without thinking about it first. And so self-centeredness is this obsession that I have with myself, thinking about myself. And there is no way of getting rid of that self-centeredness without God. Okay. Self-centeredness and my obsession with myself, self-obsession, is, I believe, the root of all of my problems. Okay. One of the things I want to talk about with you guys as well, just to give you this tool right now. It may take months of spiritual work and inventory and making amends and prayer and meditation to begin to really change my mind and my heart and my soul, so that the number one reflection of myself and the number one thought that I have is no longer just myself, but I start thinking of others. That could take months to get that change. But Alcoholics Anonymous gives us an immediate way, instantaneously, to get out of self immediately. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and tell me what that tool is? Anyone? Anyone that isn't Brad? I see Brad's already unmuted. Anybody?
Helping others.
Helping others instantly. You guys want to hear a cool story about Clancy? Clancy's 20th AA birthday, which was in 1978, October 31st, 1978. He would have turned 20 years sober. And I love this story. In the room at that time, Clancy had 120 sober sponsees. In 20 years, 120 sober sponsees. And on Clancy's 20th AA birthday, he wrote a birthday card for each one of his sponsees. An individual handwritten card for all 120 sponsees. And in that card, he wrote the same thing for every one of them. He said, "Thank you for letting me think about you so I didn't have to think about myself." That, my friends, is an AA classic. Okay? Thank you for letting me think about you so I didn't have to think about myself. Why? Because selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of my troubles. Okay? Now, you may be thinking, well, self-centeredness, like I'm not an egomaniac thinking about myself all the time. I don't like myself very much at all. I think I'm kind of a dirtbag. I don't like what I've done to my life and so on. And so I don't think I am self-centered. And that was my misunderstanding about the word self-centered for a long time too. In our vernacular, these days, we equate self-centeredness with being vain and egotistical, that someone who is self-centered is sitting around thinking about how great I am all the time. That is not my experience of self-centeredness. In fact, my experience with self-centeredness is almost the exact opposite. It's me sitting around feeling sorry for myself, thinking about what a piece of garbage I am, living in guilt and shame and regret about everything I've done in my life. And whether I'm thinking very well of myself or whether I'm thinking very lowly of myself, the problem is I am thinking only of myself. That is alcoholism. That is the spiritual malady. I've often said the most dangerous place in the world for me is not sitting in a bar. It's not being in a liquor store. It's not being around other people who are drinking. It's me sitting at home alone thinking. usually thinking about how I'm feeling, and how I'm feeling is making me think, and on and on and on and on. And that is my primary defect of character. Okay. Being obsessed with myself and thinking about myself, thinking about how, and believe me, it can go quick the other way too. Okay. We are egomaniacs with inferiority complexes. Okay. If you have ever thought to yourself simultaneously at a job, okay, let me know if I'm alone at this. I'm the kind of guy who can be sitting around thinking, this place is lucky, sitting around at work, this place is lucky to have me. I should be getting promoted. I'm not getting paid enough. And yet simultaneously being afraid of getting fired. Okay. I can have both of those thoughts at the same time. Okay. And that's alcoholism. Okay. I remember one of my first sponsors told me the story of St. Francis of Assisi. Okay, if you don't know who St. Francis of Assisi is, look into it. He's a righteous dude. He gave us the step 11 prayer. St. Francis is one of my favorites, man. I love St. Francis of Assisi. The story of St. Francis is he was like a rich prince in Italy, and he was riding around on his horse one day in Italy, a very wealthy young man. That's where the phrase riding around on your high horse came from, by the way. Okay, he's riding around on his horse, and suddenly he sees a leper on the ground. Okay, and he is immediately struck by this overwhelming sense of wanting to take care of this man, and he gets down off his horse and starts ministering to this leper on the ground. And from there, he started his ministry and eventually became St. Francis. Okay, my sponsor and I were at a step 6 and 7 seminar. That was taught by Father Brian, the same guy I did my step 5 with. And Father Brian said, for some of us, humility is about getting down off of our high horse to go help the leper. But for some of us, humility is about being the leper who will accept the help that is coming to save us, right? And I thought, oh, so brilliant, so brilliant. And I will never forget driving home with my sponsor that night. And my sponsor was a smart man and a very good member of this program. And he said something I'll never forget. Because I said to him, David, did you hear what Father Brian said about some of us need to get down and help others, but some of us need to accept the help? Wasn't that brilliant? And my sponsor said, yeah, it was pretty good, but it's pretty obvious that Father Brian isn't an alcoholic. I said, what do you mean it's pretty obvious he's not an alcoholic? He said, if he was an alcoholic, he would know that an alcoholic is capable of feeling both of those things at the exact same time, where I'm not good enough, but I'm too good for anyone else. I'm laying in the gutter, but I'm still better than you. Okay? I can feel both of those things simultaneously. Okay? That's how my alcoholism worked. Egomaniacs with inferiority complexes, okay? And it's all, and again, guys, whether I'm thinking of myself as the great, grandiose guy who's getting off the horse to go help someone else, or the person who needs help because I'm so low and I can barely survive on my own anymore. What am I obsessed with in either one of those cases? This guy, okay? And that is the root of all of our troubles. So let's go back to this diagram for a second, that I was just sharing with you guys. Okay, so in the actual practice for me of step 6, I talk about what I call the big 5. Okay, selfishness, self-centeredness, dishonesty, fear, and self-pity. Okay, but even if we look at it, and you'll see what I mean here, dishonesty, fear, and self-pity are all rooted in selfishness and self-centeredness. Okay, they are important defects for me to look at. Okay, but if I take dishonesty, for example, why do I lie? Why do I tell lies? I lie because I don't like the way reality looks. And I want you to see me in a different way. And I'm willing to try and twist the fabric of reality right out from underneath you so you don't know the truth about what's going on in me. Or I've done something that I shouldn't have done, and I don't like what the repercussions are going to be, and so I will lie about it. In any of those situations, what is really going on? It's all rooted in selfishness and self-centeredness. Okay? Fear. We talked about this when we did the fear inventory. What are the 3 fears I can have? I'm afraid I'm going to lose something I have. I'm afraid I'm not going to get something that I want. Or I've done something I shouldn't have done and I'm afraid I'm going to get caught. What is the underlying fear in all of those things? The underlying fear. What's the underlying denominator? Me. I'm obsessed with me. Always. Okay? Self-pity. Well, I mean, that's just, the word is even there, isn't it? What am I obsessed with? I'm obsessed with me and how the world isn't going right and I'm in so much pain and everything's wrong and so on and so forth. I don't doubt that if there's anyone here tonight, I don't doubt that you're in pain. I don't doubt that your problems have piled up on you and have become astonishingly difficult to solve. Okay? I get it. I get that you're in pain. I am just here to say that the solution is not to focus on the pain. The solution for me has been to get out of my pain by going and loving and feeling compassion for someone else's pain. That when I become concerned with your suffering, I am no longer obsessed with my own suffering. Okay? So that being said, one of the ways that I believe in practicing step 6 and 7 on a daily basis is rather than to ask God to remove the things that are wrong with me, what I ask God to do is to grant me what I call the positive opposites of each of those defects, or how do we turn these defects into assets? Okay. And even for me, guys, just knowing what the opposite, being able to name what is the actual opposite of each one of these defects, just going through that exercise alone is a very powerful tool. Okay. So, for example, and I'll show you guys the diagram again in a second, but if I say that my defect is selfishness, what would you say is the asset that matches that defect, or the positive opposite of selfishness? Well, let's say selflessness. Okay? And just as I said, it's not helpful to obsess about the problem. Let's rather think about the solution. Or in the St. Francis prayer, it says, where there is darkness, may I bring light. Where there is error, may I bring truth. Where there is wrong, may I bring forgiveness. Where there is selfishness, God, please grant that I may be selfless. Okay? Let's take another easy one. If the defect of character that I have is dishonesty, which is true, I do have dishonesty. I am very pleased and proud to say to you all that I was a compulsive liar, like a pathological liar. I loved lying. Okay? It made things entertaining. It made things interesting. People would say, well, the nice thing about telling the truth is you never have to remember what you said. I'm like, what's the fun in that? I loved the little web of deceit that I would, the little marionettes of dishonesty, lies that, I'm a sick, crazy drunk, man. Okay? And I'm very pleased to tell you that by the grace of God and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a lot of work and a lot of action in this program, man, there's a lot of days I get to the end of the day when I do my inventory and I look back and I have not told a lie. I have not told a lie today. Today, right now, January 27th, 2026, I can say to you with assurance, I have not lied today. And that's a beautiful thing for this guy. God has changed me. And that's what 6 and 7 are about. God has changed my character. Okay. I am no longer the character I used to be. Okay. So if dishonesty is the defect, then what do we want to pray? What's the positive opposite of dishonesty? Everybody, I just want to see your lips move. What would be honesty, right? Easy, easy, right? Selfishness, what's the opposite? Selflessness. Dishonesty, what's the opposite? Honesty. Okay, let's talk about fear. What would be the positive opposite of fear? Well, some people would say courage. Okay. Some people would say faith. That's cool. I think, and what I practice, and I teach my sponsees, is that the opposite of fear is trust. And trust in what? People? No. Don't trust people. Don't trust myself. Okay. Trust people accordingly as they give me their trust and prove themselves to be trustworthy. I trust my wonderful partner Danelle, who's on this call right now. I will say I trust Danelle. Okay, and that's a lovely thing. But who do we trust? We trust in, what does our book say about fear? We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. I trust God. And instantly we outgrow fear. That's what our book says, man. We trust God. Okay? Just to the extent that we do as God would have us and humbly rely on him, which is to say, trust him, does he enable us to match calamity with serenity? Can I get a hell yeah? All right, man. That I like that, Cassie. Thank you. I see the positive opposite of fear is trust. Okay, trusting God. And one time I said to Father Brian obviously had a big impact on me. You can tell. I love that man very much. Father Brian, I saw him at an AA meeting one time because he would come to AA meetings once in a while just to hang out with the people he was doing fifth steps with and to get to know us. I said, Father Brian, man, I'm having so much trouble just trusting God, Father Brian. And he said, yeah, join the club. Okay, here's a Catholic priest, monk from Mount St. Francis, admitting it's not easy to trust God all the time. When you're in the dark and all you have is a little candle and you're alone and afraid, it's hard to trust God. But man, it's so beautiful and powerful when we do. Okay. So now these next two are like returning points for me. Okay. Self-centeredness. What is the positive opposite of self-centeredness? I was baffled. I had no clue. What is the positive opposite of self-centeredness? I have been taught, and I believe that the opposite, I'll give you a hint. Okay, and then so if you want to guess, feel free to raise your hand and tell us. I'll give you a hint. The positive opposite, the word for it, the opposite of self-centeredness, it's in step 7. The word itself is in step 7. Nicholas P, I see you there with your hand raised.
Sorry, I was going to say doing for others, but you're hinting it's just one word?
It's one word, and that's not a bad guess, Nicholas. That I always say here at this study, if I ask a question and you give the answer love and service, to any question that I ask, you give the answer love and service, you will always get partial marks for that answer. Okay? That is always helping others. When in doubt, go help others. That's always a good answer. Always a good answer, Nicholas. Okay? But the word specifically that we're looking for, it's actually in step 7. Anybody want to guess? Chris S.
Humble. I humbly
Humble. Nailed it. The positive opposite of self-centeredness is humility. Humility. Humility before what? Humility before other people? No, man. Humility before God. Humility to God. Okay? On page 25, it says the central fact of our lives is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our lives and entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. Okay? I put God at the center of my life. Okay? Rather than self center rather than self-center, who is at the center? God is at the center. I make God and recovery and Alcoholics Anonymous and my home group and my commitment to my home group and my sponsor, I make that the central fact of my life, and I let everything else orbit around that center. Okay? I don't plan AA around my life anymore. I plan my life around AA. People in my life who know me don't even bother to invite me to events if they are on a Wednesday night. There's no point. They know where I am on Wednesday night. People who know me know that Kevin has a Wednesday night commitment. And they know Tuesday nights. My coworkers know. They say to me during the workday on Tuesday, hey, good luck on the study tonight, Kevin. Okay, they know me. That is the central fact of my life. And the positive opposite of self-centeredness is to be God-centered. And another way to think of God-centeredness is the word humility. That I am humble. I used to hang around AA, man, and I'd try to, anybody here ever try to look humble? Okay, because I would see these old timers. There's a way to look humble. You sit and you kind of have your hands folded in your lap, and you try to look, like you're staring off into space, like you don't care at all. But you're such spiritual things on your mind, and yet you're still actually, in reality, I was sitting there obsessed with other people looking at me, wondering if I looked like a humble member in AA. Maybe none of you have ever done that. I made a practice of it, man. I just tried to sit in the meeting and look humble. That's me trying to be humble before other people. That's not what we're asked to do. That's not the deal. Anyone here ever heard of somebody being God-fearing? He's a God-fearing, God-fearing Christian, God-fearing religious person. What does that mean? Like, why would you want to be afraid of God? All that means is that that person has God at the center of their lives. Okay? We don't have to be afraid of God, but I need to have God at the center. Page 25, it's one of my favorite lines in our book. The central fact of our lives is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. Okay? Then, when God is at the center, because people would say to me, well, we need to be other-centered. Anyone ever heard that one before? I need to be other-centered, not myself-centered. I need to be other-centered. Man, that doesn't play for me, because all that does is I'm just out there trying to manipulate people when I'm other-centered. Okay? That's not a solid foundation of life and recovery. Okay? We put God at the center, man. Okay? That is a solid foundation to live on. Okay? I have come to learn, guys, that we live in AA. I live in AA and I visit the world. Okay? I live in AA and I visit the world. When I try to live in the world and visit AA, man, I'm in a lot of trouble. Okay? I have learned I cannot stay sober in Alcoholics Anonymous on a tourist visa. Okay? I have to become a permanent resident in AA. Okay? And that's the deal. And the way that I do that is by putting God at the center. And then what does God want me to do? God wants me to go be of love and service to others immediately. And I don't know why. That's just the way it is. What God wants is for us to take care of one another. I believe that the meaning of life, my purpose in life, is to relieve the suffering of others. And how do we do that in Alcoholics Anonymous? We do that by being of service to one another. Okay? Because when I am concerned with your suffering, whose suffering am I no longer obsessed with? My own. And that's freedom. That's the freedom right there. Okay? Now, one last key to the kingdom for y'all. And then we're going to stay the step 7 prayer. And we're going to move on to steps 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay? What is the positive opposite of self-pity? Now, self-pity, man, like, Self-pity is a major problem in my life. I told you guys, I'm 16 years sober. I just did a step 5 with my sponsor. And what was in 15 minutes, what was his takeaway for me? I told y'all. What did he say? Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Okay? Self-pity is a massive problem for me. I was born feeling sorry for myself. Okay? I believe that. I have felt sorry for myself as a pathological part of my character the whole time I've been alive. I'm the type of person, I don't know why I am built this way. If I find $100 bill on the ground, I will pick it up and find something wrong with it. It's just the way that my brain works. And so I have had to really, really work against the flow of the current in my head of self-pity. And I do that by working with others. But there is one other tool that I'm given in AA. And it was an understanding what is the positive opposite of self-pity. I think I just saw Caleb. I think I see him saying the word. Caleb, you want to take a shot? What's the opposite of self-pity?
Gratitude.
Boom. Gratitude, man. Gratitude. Gratitude. Absolutely. And if you are struggling with self-pity the way that I struggle with self-pity, okay, there's two things to do. Number one, I was always taught that gratitude is an action word. Okay, so I have to go out and carry the message to others. I need to make sure that I've got a G-man around me all the time, my gratitude man. Who's my gratitude man? That's the man I'm giving this program back to. Okay, that's my G-man. I got to have a G-man with me all the time. I could have someone that I'm carrying this message of recovery and hope to. Okay, and sharing my gratitude with. But what is another tool that I can use to practice gratitude? Gratitude lists. Okay. I'm here to tell you guys that I do a gratitude list every night. Every night. Okay. And I don't mean I think about things. I don't make a gratitude list in my head because my head is a bad place for a list. I mean, I list out things. I reflect on my day. I do inventory. I pray. I meditate. I do a spiritual reading. And I make a gratitude list every night. Okay. And if you struggle with self-pity the way that I struggle with self-pity, gratitude lists are a good thing to do. So step 6, guys, I believe that step 6, my job in step 6 is to simply start to be aware of how these things, selfishness, self-centeredness, dishonesty, fear, and self-pity are impacting me. When I get tangled up through the day, as Bill Wilson says, I get tangled up. My job is to pause and to ask myself, what is going on right now? Oh, this is self-pity. I'm in self-pity right now. Then I can apply the tool. I need to stop and say, oh, I'm afraid right now. That's what this is. I'm afraid. I'm feeling, maybe it's resentment. I'm feeling resentment. Why? Because I'm selfish and self-centered and I want things the way and they're not going my way. Whatever it is, I have to pause and ask myself what's going on. And if I don't know what's going on, who do I call? Our book says that solitary self-appraisal is insufficient. What should I do? Call my sponsor. Say, here's what's going on. What is this? I call Alan with my big problems that I had. Oh, these problems in my career that I have, Alan. Oh, the problems I have, Alan. And he says, self-pity. Okay. And instantly, like a weapon, I'm able to apply the tool and move on. Okay. So with that said, guys, we got 1 minute to go here. What I would like to do with y'all is step 7. We're going to go into step 7. We've been talking about it a little bit already. We've talked about humility. Let's go to step 7 in the book. Let's say the step 7 prayer together. And then next week, we will start moving into step 8, shoulder to shoulder. We will commence on this journey together. Okay. So page 76. Brad, would you be kind enough to, what I want to do, Brad's going to read it. I'm going to talk about it just very briefly, then we'll say the prayer together. So Brad, could you read it for us?
When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7.
We have then completed step 7. We've completed step 7. I don't spend another month talking about it. We've completed step 7 for this moment. This moment right now, I have completed step 7. Tomorrow will be an entirely new opportunity for me to complete step 7 again. But for right now, I've completed step 7 and I move on to step 8. Okay? So, 2 questions. Well, a question and a comment. Number 1, why do I give God the good and the bad? That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't I just give God the bad stuff and keep the good stuff for myself? Why does it say, please take all of me, God, good and bad? Because I am surrendering myself completely to God. I'm surrendering myself to any idea that I know what's good for me and what's bad for me. I have no idea. I am surrendering completely and accepting that I don't know. And I'm giving all of it to God. It's about complete surrender, okay? Secondly, what I want to point out here is just like in step 3, this is not a something for nothing deal. This is not, God, please get up on tippy toes and make, Kevin a good guy, and make life rainbows and kitty cats because I deserve special treatment. This is, God, you do this for me and I will go to work for you. That's the deal. You do this for me and you remove these defects that stand in the way of my being useful to you, God. Okay? Maximum service, to be useful to others when God removes these things for us. God does this for us and we go to work for him. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say about that, guys. Let's wrap up for tonight. We're a couple minutes over. I apologize for that. We're going to say this prayer, and you know what? We're not even going to end on the Lord's Prayer tonight. We're going to say the step 7 prayer. That's going to be the finish of the meeting. But please don't run away. One of my favorite things to do is after we're going to go around the room. We're going to say hello to everyone. You can introduce yourself. The custom that we have here, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and what your home group is. Okay? And if you don't have a home group, that's okay. Just tell us what your name is and where you're from. Okay? So let's finish the meeting tonight. We're going to finish tonight. I'm going to get down on my knees. The original, by the way, in the original manuscript that we read at Primary Purpose Group for step 7, it said humbly on our knees, ask God to remove our shortcomings. Okay? So I'm going to suggest we get down on our knees. I'm going to get down on mine. If you've never done it before, I invite you, I strongly encourage you to consider it. And let's say the step 7 prayer and we'll be done for tonight. My Creator, I am now willing. You should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7. Right. Okay. Very nice to have all you guys here. Thanks everyone for coming. Let's go around the room quickly. As I said, everyone just introduce yourself, say hello, let us know where you're from, and let us know what your home group is, okay? And let's start with Alex S. from Roslyn, BC.
Hey, Alex. Roslyn 3410 group's my home group. Nice to see you guys.
The 3410 group.
Yeah.
Is that just the name of the address that it's in, or is there a different story there?
I don't know. That's just the name. I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, let me know what the 3410 group, why it's called the 3410 group. That's awesome. Let's go to Feike. Am I saying that right? Feike. Feike, is that correct?
FICA.
Feike.
Yes, hello there.
Hey, Feike.
Yeah, I'm calling from Grand Forks, British Columbia, and
Nice.
home group is Valley Group here in town.
Awesome, great. You've got good taste in movies too, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Fika, great to have you here. Glad you came. Thanks for joining us. Let's go to Mitch.
Hi guys, Mitch, alcoholic. Home group is New Beginnings, Calgary. Sponsors Kevin.
Awesome to have you, Mitch. Awesome to have you. I love the hat. You got the Peaky Blinders thing going on. I like it. I like it. Looking good, man. Looking good. Let's go to Victor.
My name's Victor. I'm an alcoholic. Red Deer. My home group is Sunday morning meeting.
Awesome
Do
to
I
have
sound
you.
like a girl?
No, you sound a little sick though. You sound sick.
Okay, okay.
Like physically, I mean. Yeah, great to have you, Victor. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to say hello to Debbie, who has her lovely cat there, and I'm going to introduce my lovely little friend Ebby. Ebby here as well.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm from Saskatchewan. My home group is Watrous
Beautiful, Debbie. Well, where in Saskatchewan are you from?
Imperial.
Imperial, Saskatchewan. Well, just wonderful to have you join us, Debbie. Thank you for joining. Let's go to, thank you. Thanks for being here. Let's go to Chris S.
Hey everyone, Chris S., alcoholic. I'm calling in from Bolivia. I've lived here for 25 years, but I'm from Massachusetts. And my home group is Big Book for Beginners, a noontime big book group for beginners. Thanks.
Wow. And so if any of you are in Bolivia, go check out Chris's home group. I'm sure he'd love to have you.
No, it's on Zoom, my home group. Sorry.
Oh, very cool.
It's
All right.
it's from Canada. Bunch of Canadians, so it's a great group.
Well, then it must be good, man. It must be good. Salt of the earth, man. That's God's country. All right, let's go to Andrew. Andrew's iPhone.
I'm Andrew. My home group is River Tuesday, and I'm grateful to be here.
Great to have you, Andrew. I got to tell you, man, I love when you're on the study, man, because I just see you in your book, like making notes, highlighting, like that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Yeah, great to have you here, Andrew. Thank you for joining us again. Let's go to Josh L. Are you there?
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hey, Josh. How are you?
Good to see you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Josh. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and my home group is PPG.
PPG. We love it. All right, let's talk to all the PPGers now. Now we broke the seal. Now we broke
Kevin,
the
I
seal. Let's
appreciate
talk
you,
to all the
brother.
PPGers.
Tonight was powerful. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Josh. Thank
Love
you.
you, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Let's go to Corey B.
Hi, Corey Alcoholic, calling from Calgary, Alberta, and my home group is PPG.
PPG. All right, let's go to Tom.
So I'm alcoholic. Yeah, home group's primary purpose, Calgary, Alberta, currently in Honolulu.
Oh, wonderful, man. I didn't realize you were in Honolulu. That's great. And for anyone who doesn't know, primary purpose group that he just mentioned is also known as PPG. Awesome to have you. Let's Brad, I'm going to go to you, even though you are a reader and I always like to introduce you last. Let's just round it out.
Brad Soloto, recovered alcoholic. I'm actually in Calgary, Alberta today, and my home group is PPG.
PPG. All right, we love it. We love it. I hope that you all love your home group as much as we love ours, man. That's for sure. That's for sure, man. It's my family. It's my family. It's the happiest place on earth. I absolutely love it. Let's go to Caleb from Atlanta.
Cool. Caleb, grateful, recovering addict and alcoholic. Atlanta, Georgia, and my home group is DRG, the Dynamic Recovery Group. We're all men's meeting on Zoom. Bunch of Canadians.
DRG. I like it, man. I like it. Well, Caleb, thank you for your participation tonight. It was great, man.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm in Seattle, and my home group is Empire Way.
Empire Way. Excellent, Cassie. Well, wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining us. Let's go to Nicholas P.
Hi, family. I'm Nick. I'm an alcoholic. I'm calling in from Chicago, Illinois, in the USA, but my home group is the DRG as well.
Oh, deadly. Oh, that's great. Yeah, right on. I should have known from the hat that you're from Chicago.
Oh yeah, no, but thanks for sharing. What a great meeting. Thank you, Kevin.
It was joy of my life, man. Joy of my life to share this with y'all. Thank you. Let's go to Teju.
Yes. Yes, my name is Tejo. I'm an alcoholic. I'm from UK and my home group is Vision for Worldwide.
Awesome, man. Great to have you. I always like to see you here, man. Great to see you again. Let's go to my man, Benjamin Collins.
Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and I am an alcoholic from Elyria, Ohio, and my home group is Span Am.
Does that change, Ben? Was that always your home group?
Yeah, I've had two home groups since I got started. Friday night Spanish American, we just call it Span Am.
Oh, that's why. That's why the Span Am, because you often call it Spanish American. That's right, Span Am. That's why I didn't recognize that. I didn't know the cool kids abbreviation. So
thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Rob. Love you guys' meeting, man. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
love you too, man. Great to have you, brother. And let's go to Gail G.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Gail Alcoholic from Kelowna, BC. And you probably don't need a whole big dissertation from the Gospel of Gail tonight. So, yeah, and my home group is basically a ladies Zoom meeting out of Ziwatneo. So that's the Gospel of Gail according to today.
Love it. Love it. Always great to have you, Gail. And last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who makes it all fourth dimensional, Mr. Rob K.
Kevin, I want to thank you and Brad for all you bring to the table. My God, such a great time. You know what? We start out with a laugh and we end with a laugh.
Amen.
We are not a glum lot. We are an odd lot, but we are never glum. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, absolutely insist on enjoying life.
PPG.
Love you guys. PPG. And for all you DRG guys and everyone else, we should put the PPG link in the chat if it isn't already. You got it? You got it already? All right, man. Yeah. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We've got a great audio-visual experience. We have teams of guys that come and set up our microphones and our cameras. And you will see me sitting in the front row. And it'd be great to see you. Love you all, guys. This has been the Fourth Dimension Big Book Study. And we will see you all next week. Adios, amigos.
Thank you, everyone.
Adios. Bye-bye.